Hi. Today I want to talk to you about voiceover, or rather the reality of voiceover. Because every once in a while I get questions from people who ask, is voiceover worth it? They're wondering if they could become voice actors, and if they did, what would happen? And this is always such a difficult question for me to answer because, I believe that there are as many paths into voiceover as there are voice actors, different voice actors. There are just as many paths into it. And there are just as many voice acting lives as there are voice actors. But I feel like everyone's life is so different from each other. Like, yes, we have aspects that are the same across what we do, but it's so different. So I'm just putting this disclaimer on this before I even start that, I cannot tell you, and no one can, what your life would be like if you became a voice actor. Because that remains to be seen. That is up to you. You would discover it by starting voiceover and seeing what happens, basically. And I know that that is not a satisfying answer, but I think that this is the truest answer I could give you. But with that said, I can still talk about my own experience. That's always something I can do and anyone can do who is a voice actor. Just talk about your own experience. So I'm just going to share with you the good side and the bad side. I don't really consider it a bad side. It's more of a challenging side, I guess, of what it's like to be a voice actor. So, like, one of the questions that people ask a lot is that if I become a voice actor, can I immediately quit whatever job I am doing currently and just live off of this? And my answer would be, it's not bloody likely. I wish I could say, yeah, totally do it, just do it. Just quit right now and start voiceover and you will never look back. I wish I could say that to you. That doesn't really seem to be the case for most people. There are a lot of voice actors out there who do a lot of different things. They have a day job that is not voiceover at all. And then they do voiceover on the side. That is a lot of people's situation. And then there's this other situation where they do voiceover as like a full-time thing, but they have a lot of voiceover related things on the side. So they are voiceover course instructors. They run voiceover classes, either in person or online or however they do it. They do things like that on the side. And they get a lot of income from that as well. It's very rare to find a voice actor who just does voice acting and nothing else at all and is just fine. My situation, I feel like, is somewhere in the middle of that, because I would say I do voiceover full time, and I don't really do, currently, at least at the time of making this video, because I never know what might happen in the future. But currently I don't do anything on the side. I don't like run voiceover classes or anything like that. I also don't have any other job. I just do voiceover. And, I don't even consider myself as like only a voice actor, because I've said it before too, that like I am just interested in acting. I consider myself an actor as far as my profession is concerned. I consider myself an actor, and I would do any type of acting. I would be interested in it. But the reason I do voiceover is just because right now it is the most easily accessible type of acting to me. But I do this full time. So does that mean that everything is just great and I have no challenges at all if I'm able to do this full time? Well, no. I am in a sort of, I don't know if it's a unique situation. I wouldn't really call this a unique situation because I feel like a lot of people are in that same situation. I don't live alone. I live with my mother, and we sort of manage things around here, the both of us, these days, together. So if I lived alone and I did voiceover full time, I probably would have to very quickly find something else to do as well, just to get by. Like that is the current reality of the situation. So even though I do voiceover real time, I am just very blessed to have a great relationship with one of my family members, and we can live together and we like it that way. And so it just sort of works out for me in that sense. A lot of people don't have that. Like you wouldn't be able to maybe live with somebody else and kind of half the stuff that you have to pay for and all that. So if you got into voiceover, it is very likely that you would have to have something else as well, just on the side. So that's kind of the challenging part of it. And I did want to start with the challenging things before I get into the what's the good about this, because I'm just trying to like make you aware right off the bat, like what can you expect potentially if you get into this. Because again, I cannot tell you what exactly it's going to be for you because it's different for everybody. There are voice actors who get into this and within like 1 year they are almost like completely established. They get great gigs that pay very well as well. And so that's just how it goes for them. But no one can tell you if that will be you or not. But for a lot of voice actors, this is not how it starts. If I were to honestly tell you my own experience and the experience of a lot of other voice actors as well, it's like, because this is a branch of acting, or well, at least that's how I see it. Voiceover is just a branch of acting. It's like a type of acting. But acting itself is a very slow going road. It's a very long journey to get anywhere at all. Unless, I guess, you get picked off of the street or something. You have very like unique circumstances in your life so that it goes differently. But if you're like me and you just got into this because you are interested in it, so you are pursuing it, then it's I would say a very long road to get anywhere established at all. And currently I have been doing this this is my eight years, or it will be 8 years at the end of this year. So that's how long I've been doing it. But I would still say that it's a long road, and you really do have to invest a lot of time and effort into this, and you cannot give up. It's one of these professions where it's easy to give up, because for a long time it can be the case that you feel like you're doing everything you can, but nothing seems to be moving. Nothing seems to be really going anywhere. So then you start asking yourself, is this worth it? Did I make the wrong choice? But it's acting, man. It's very hard to tell if you made the wrong choice because it's just such a long road. I would say you just kind of have to keep on going. You cannot give up just because things don't seem to be going somewhere very, very quickly. And this is the case for a lot of voice actors. You start and you just sort of grind year after year after year. And then eventually you will start to develop your own client base and returning clients and projects that are bigger and better, and they pay better as well because you are better. But all of this comes with time for most people. Again, there are some people who just, I don't know how they do it, but they do kind of knock it right out of the park. I think that's the saying. They do really well very quickly. But I wouldn't count on that. This job obviously cannot grant you the kind of stability that you would get elsewhere, that you would get with an office job, or just whatever you would consider like a normal, not creative type of job. You don't get that stability. With this job, voice acting, you don't know when the next gig is going to come. You don't know how much this gig is going to pay. You don't know how you're going to do at that gig. You don't even know what the gig is. And you don't know where it's going to come from, who is going to bring it. Nothing like this you will ever know. So it's very difficult for you to get to any kind of place of certainty with this job ever, because it's so dependent on whatever happens next and you never know. So if you pick this as a profession for yourself, and I think this might go for all of acting. I don't have the kind of experience. Like if you are a theater actor and you work just consistently in a theater somewhere, then maybe you have some kind of stability. But otherwise, it's just dependent on whatever your gigs are, and you never know where the next one is going to come from, or what it's going to be like, or what it's going to require of you, or how much it's going to pay. So if you get this as a profession for yourself, get ready for a lot of uncertainty that doesn't ever really go away. Even if you're doing really, really well, you've been getting gigs regularly that pay really well. That's amazing. But you never know if there's going to be a pause in activity next, or if it's just going to continue like that. You don't know. So you have to become somebody who is okay with uncertainty and with a lot of unknown, because this just comes with the job. I have to honestly tell you. That's just how it is with this job, and I don't think you ever get to a stable place with it. You have to just do your best, and I feel like you have to practice yourself into this place of just trusting that things are going to be fine, because usually if you're able to trust that things are going to be fine, they are going to be fine. And the more you panic about things, the more kind of out of balance you get with everything. Get ready for a whole lot of that. A whole lot of basically trusting the universe. And so then that means you have to be good with your money as well, because you don't know where the next sums are going to come from. So you do sort of, I feel like, hold on to it, maybe more than some other people would have to, because you just don't have the stability. I've had periods where like a whole month goes by and there's nothing, like there's no gig, no money, nothing coming from anywhere. And then I had periods where it's like every single week there's something, and I never know what is next month gonna look like. I don't know. Could have several jobs a week, could have one job a week, could have one or several jobs every 2 weeks or something. And how much they pay? Only time will tell. That has kind of been the reality of this job. And I have struggled with it a lot myself too, that I'm like, I don't know, can I handle this or not? But I would say it's worth it. And now let's talk a little bit more about why this would be worth it, because so far I'm sure it sounds like, wow, well, I would never pick this as a job. I'm so sorry if you were so excited about this, but this is kind of soured your mood. Well, maybe this is better, this part. What are the good sides of this? Why would this be worth it? I would say that this job is probably going to be worth it for you if you are a creative person, first of all. If you are somebody that likes acting, second of all, it's kind of you have to like acting because it is acting. It's not just speaking something into a microphone in a very dry, monotone way. This is why everybody, if you start researching this is why all of these voice actors say, go take acting classes or just get some kind of acting experience from somewhere. Because it's acting. Doesn't matter what genre it is that you do. Could be commercials, could be audiobooks, could be characters. Whatever it is, it's still acting. You have to like acting. That's another thing. You have to like having time to yourself, which I feel like most people would like that. Most people probably don't have enough time for themselves. Well, this is one of these jobs where you set your own hours. You set your own hours and you say how much you want to get paid for stuff. And, this doesn't guarantee that you are always going to be in agreement with your clients over how much stuff should cost. But this is why it's a good job. You can set and are expected to set your own rates. Like, yes, there are rate guides and there are guides of how people usually, other voice actors, what they usually ask. And I feel like you want to be somewhere in that range, but overall, you set your own rates. And you decide if you take a gig or if you don't take a gig. You can always say no. You don't really have a boss to tell you what to do. You are your own boss. And if you're doing a gig, then yeah, I guess the client in some ways is your boss because it's kind of like having a director on a set. You are following their guidelines of like what they want you to do, but you are still the one who has the right to agree or disagree to it. You get to decide which gigs you take and which you don't. And you don't really have to explain to anybody about why you are taking this one or why you're not taking this one. It's all up to you, up to how you feel about it. So this job does give you a lot of freedom. So if you don't really want to answer to some kind of like higher ups, then this might be the job for you. Also, another thing about this job is that, well, I am just only talking about my own experience right now. This varies across voice actors, but I feel like you do get a lot of free time, more free time than a lot of other people would get, because again, you don't have set hours unless you decide that you have set hours. But then you decided that, so it's different. But you get a lot of personal free time that you can just do what you want to do with. You decide when you do what. You decide when you record things. I record at nights. Straight up in the middle of the night when everybody is asleep. That's when I record. But that means that during the day I can just kind of do whatever I want to, if I have the time for it. So that can be another enticing thing about it. And well, if you really love acting and you love to act, then yeah, you do get a lot of acting experience, whether it's characters or something else. And even the thing that I mentioned about you not knowing what the next gig is going to be exactly, even that can be exciting if you choose that as your perspective, that you choose that this is not scary, this is exciting. That's a perspective shift that you could do. So then it can be very interesting and exciting to see what your next gig is going to be, because you won't know. So what about connections? Let's talk about those too, because when you're first starting out, obviously you don't really have any connections. You don't really know anybody in the business. If you are a very sociable person and you like communicating with people and all that, then there definitely are like voice acting spaces that you could go to and meet people and make contacts that way. But if you're like me, I'm pretty introverted and I'm not that great at socializing and at communication. And I would say that overall, this is a pretty solitary profession unless you yourself take steps actively to make it like less solitary for yourself. Because for the most part, you would be by yourself just recording things and sometimes communicating with somebody online. And that's pretty much it. But if you don't want that, then you would have to be the one to take steps to make it not be that way. And I guess if you are a very sociable person, then you're better off than I was, because you might make contacts pretty easily. But I didn't make them easily because I am not that person that likes to approach other people with anything. If you don't have a lot of contacts, does that mean that you can't get jobs? That hasn't been my experience. You can still get jobs. But you do have to put yourself out there. You do have to go after these things. And I guess it can be in some ways harder, because if you have contacts and you have great relationships with these people, they could refer you to jobs. That happens to me every once in a while, that I will do some kind of a job and the client will ask, hey, do you know somebody else who speaks the same language as you do or does the same thing as you do, who could also do something? That does happen. So I love to refer people. But if you don't have that, then at first, then you are just kind of missing out on that aspect. But it can make things a little bit more difficult for you. However, not impossible, because I'm telling you, I did not start out with any contacts, and for several years I had no contacts at all. Even today, I wouldn't say that I have a long list of contacts now. I'm just not that kind of person. I have some people that I know, I have some people that I've worked with, and all of this has just come with experience, through doing this job. But not because I just went out of my way to find these people or to make contact with them. And so I guess I should talk about cold emailing too. And honestly, I have to tell you that I am not the best person to ask about this, because I just don't even do it, honestly. And a lot of voice actors will swear by this. They will say that you absolutely have to do it, or it's a very good thing to do. That's very possible that it's a very good thing to do. I got nothing bad to say about it. But you have to decide for yourself if that is something that you want to do. Well, I tried it in the past, and as I say, communication is not my strong side at all. So me doing something like this is extremely difficult for me to get any kind of results at all. And I don't personally feel called to do it. And I have found, through my own experience, that it's not really something that you have to do. Unless you really want to, or unless you really believe that you have to do it, then probably yes, you would have to do it. I think it's more up to you than people often say. You can do it, you cannot do it, but I would just check in with yourself first. Ask yourself, is this something that I really want to do, or do I just feel like it's a chore? Or am I just doing this because I've heard all of these other people say that you must do it? Because I'm telling you, I know myself and I know some other people that don't do this at all, and they still get work. And I still get work. So I wouldn't say it's a requirement. But it's up to you. I did say this job is very solitary. So yes, you do spend a lot of time just recording by yourself and nobody else is really around. But at the same time, there's a weird social aspect about it. And why I call it weird is just because it feels weird, in the sense that I am alone a lot in my own booth or wherever I am recording. I'm alone. I'm by myself a lot. I direct myself a lot too. So it's very solitary, but at the same time, I have these clients. So many clients that I'm just sending emails with, or just texting somewhere on some platform with. So in that sense, it's very social, interestingly. And sometimes these clients will want to see you by video chat or by audio call or something, because they will want to give you feedback about the job that you are doing for them, or they want to direct you. Live direction is a real thing too. It ends up being like equal parts solitary and having other people involved. So now again, the question becomes, how much do you like communicating? How much do you like working with other people? Because even though it's solitary, it is very much working with other people, interestingly. My own experience, as I've already told you, I'm not great at communicating. I try to improve the best that I can, and I do my best to be a decent, I would say, communicator. But it's not like foolproof. There are still things that happen that I'm like, ugh, I shouldn't have said it that way, or just misunderstandings. These things can happen. But if you are a very sociable person, you would do better at it than I do. And if you're not, then you just have to accept that this is still in some ways a sociable job. I would say for me, like if this was an office job, that kind of sociable job as an office job is, that would actually be much harder for me. This voiceover is acting, so I love that. And so I tend to meet people in it who also love it. And so they are, I guess I would say, easier to communicate with than people at a job that you don't like. Like, I'm sure you can relate to this. If you are at a job that you don't like, you probably don't even really like your coworkers that much. So you might be like, I hate the social aspect of this job. But in this case, if you like acting, then socializing with other actors, I feel like, is different. I find that it's not as draining to me as it would be if I was at a job I hated. So that does play into it. In that sense, it's easier. But still, I'm not a very extroverted person, so I do have to like conserve my energy a lot. So that's just something to take into account and ask yourself how introverted or extroverted I am. And I'm just trying to give you a picture of what it's like. Communication is easier in the sense that a lot of it is online. So you don't really have to worry too much about like your tone and things like that. But it's still communication. It's still being sociable. So that's that. But let's also talk about what else comes with voice acting, because if you don't know anything about this, you might think voice acting is just voice acting. I just have to speak into a microphone and that's it. That's all I do all day, every day, and nothing else to it. That's not entirely accurate, because voice acting, it's not just voiceover skills or acting skills. You also have to have some kind of marketing skills, because you have to sort of advertise yourself so that people want to work with you. You have to have some editing skills as well, because you have to, I wouldn't say that there's like a huge amount of audio editing involved. It depends on what you're willing to do. Some people are willing to add all kinds of effects and things like that to their voiceovers themselves, but others don't do that at all. Myself, I don't do that at all. I don't add background music, or I don't like mix the whole thing together. If you did that, and if you had the skills for it, then you could ask more money for all that. But even if you don't do it, you have to be able to at least edit, decently in an audio editing program of some sort. And I'm sure you can Google all that. You can find out what these programs are. This video is not about that. I'm just telling you now that there are some things for you to learn. If you have never done any kind of audio editing, before. You will have to get into it a little bit. I wouldn't say it's like a crazy amount, but at least at first it will seem, well, like any new thing, it will probably seem a little bit overwhelming. You're most likely going to have to create a lot of voiceover profiles on a lot of different voiceover sites, especially if you're going to be a remote voice actor like me. There are so many fucking websites that you have to have an account on because, well, this is just me, but I feel like it's probably best to have several different irons in the fire, so to speak. You could just make an account on some specific platform and maybe things start going extremely well on that platform, and then that'll be your only account, then you will be fine. I know people like that. But for myself and for a lot of other people, yeah, you do need to search for these different voiceover websites and make an account fucking everywhere you possibly can. Just to widen your net to get more work. So that means that you then have to be able to like present yourself in some kind of professional manner, even if you are completely new. So in that case, I would suggest looking at what other voice actors who are more established and who do get a lot of work, what they have done and what their profiles look like, and then not copy it exactly, but just make your own version of something similar. You want to give your potential clients the feeling that I am a reliable, responsible, and professional voice actor, and I will get the job done, even if I've never done a gig before. That's all they're trying to see. And you know, that's one of the hardest things when you're starting out, is that you haven't done this before. So you don't have any examples of work, you don't have any clients, you don't have anybody to say, hey, this person did a great job about you. So it's difficult to get that first order. I know what that's like. But you really up your chances if you just manage to appear professional. And you know, if you ask me what should I charge for these things, it's really difficult for me to say, because some people would tell you that, well, just find out what other people, other voice actors charge for the same thing, same genre that you plan on doing. Like, let's say you want to do audiobooks, then find out what other voice actors who do audiobooks charge for audiobooks. But if you're a complete beginner, my personal experience has been, unfortunately, that you would have to lower your prices from what is like normally accepted, because unfortunately it does seem to up your chances of getting that first order. Some people, I know that they want to, especially if you research this, I'm sure you're going to come across it at some point, but they just talk about it like, well, think about a doctor who is like straight out of medical school. Do you think this doctor is gonna charge less than doctors with like 10 years of experience? No, they're gonna charge whatever doctors charge right off the bat. And this seems very logical, right? But my experience, I'm just talking about my own experience with voiceover, has been that people don't seem to view voiceover the same way as they would view doctors. I don't know why, but they don't really seem to. So I think you would have to experiment and find out. You can try charging as much as other voice actors charge right off the bat, even if you haven't had a single order yet. Or you might have to go a little bit lower, just so you can get your feet in the door. You might have to do just unpaid projects. That is also a very normal path. Like, that's how I started. I didn't start with charging anything for anything. I started with completely unpaid projects. And I did that for a while, probably like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years at least. And I'm not saying you have to do it like I did it. I'm just talking about my own experience. Everyone has a different experience. So that's that about what to charge. I would say, personally, I love this job. I love acting. And this is just a branch of acting, and so I'm happy to do it. And it does have a lot of good sides, like the whole freedom to do what I want and to charge what I want and have a lot of personal time to myself. And the fact that I don't work a 9 to 5, and I don't have to care if it's Monday or Friday or if it's the weekend or whatever. None of that really means anything to me. It means anything negative to me. And that's very important to me because I'm just one of these people who, from the very beginning of like when I became of age to start looking for something to do as a job, I was like, I would watch these other people and how they were talking about their jobs, and very often they would say things like, I hate my job. Oh, it's Monday again. I'm just waiting for Friday. And I was like, I don't want that to be me. We spend so many hours of our lives working. So I think it should be something that I genuinely enjoy. That was my mindset about it. And then I was just, I think, fortunate enough to have some experiences to discover acting. But I do know that that's not most people's path. A lot of people watching this are probably, you already have some kind of job, and well, it's pretty possible that you also hate it. And so that's why you're watching this. You would like voice acting, maybe. Or you already know that you like it, and you just want this to be a full-time thing for you, but you're still in the job that you hate. So I know that that is a lot of people's experience, and my experience is kind of, it's not the usual. It's not the conventional way. All I can really do is just tell you what my experience is and try to share with you what I think, or like according to me, are the good sides of this job and the bad sides, or the more challenging sides, let's put it that way. Because even the bad sides, I don't really think that they are bad. I just think they can be more challenging, depending on the kind of person you are. You might be somebody that likes a lot of uncertainty, and you find that naturally exciting. So for you, I mean, this would be great. A lot of uncertainty in this job, I will tell you. But for somebody who is like, I really need to know what comes next in my life, I need to have some kind of something to tell me what will come next, you will have a more difficult time. And I relate to that because I am not really a person that likes change that much. However, there are aspects of me that like enable me to kind of pull myself back and be like, yeah, it's fine. I love this job enough to even find some way to like the uncertainty that comes with it. So all I have really tried to do here is just give you my experience of what this job has been like so far, and what I think are the good sides and the more challenging sides of this job. I'm just reminding you again that this is just my own experience, and every voice actor has a very different experience. There are things that overlap, yes, but overall, everyone has their own story and their own unfolding, and nobody can tell you what yours is. I cannot do that, and nobody else can do that either. So overall, you would just have to take the plunge and see what happens. That's just how it is. So I hope that this was informative or helpful, and maybe helped you decide one way or another what you're gonna do. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.